Hello friends and welcome to the channel. In this video we will be covering Dragonsong's Reprise Ultimate Phase 4. So with that out of the way, let's just begin. To start Phase 4 off, we all want to be stacked directly south here because a random party member is going to get this AoE buff on them, and Alfie is also going to get a buff on him as well. So we ideally just want to stack with Alfie here. The moment this stack goes out, we're all going to get a buff which allows us to attack both of these eyes. To begin with, you're going to want to split your party into two light parties here. So we want one tank, one healer, and 2 DPS on one eye, and one tank, one healer, and 2 DPS on the other eye. Make sure both tanks have their tank stances on because they will need to tank these eyes each, and rotate your cooldowns accordingly. Make sure you have some mitts ready here, mostly from your healers, as Estinian in the middle is going to do a raid wide and it's going to give everyone a bleed effect. But as long as everyone's topped off, as long as there's some shields out and some mitigations from your healers, you'll be absolutely fine. Once the AoE has gone out, make sure every party member does a light spread here, and then the eyes are all going to cast Hate Bound. This is going to chain 4 players to the blue eye and 4 players to the red eye. Now let me explain what these chains do first. If you have the blue chain and you take damage, you're going to heal the blue eye. You do not want this. If you have the red chain, on the other hand, from the red eye and you take damage, you're going to damage the eye instead. So the goal here is to have the red chain for the upcoming mechanics. So first, what do we do as a group here? We have designated players take these chains. We don't YOLO it here. We have a specific way to do it. So to begin with, we want all the tanks and all the melee DPS to have red chain to begin with, and these chains can be passed, so that's why we can manipulate this. So in this instance, I have a blue chain, but I want a red chain. What we do is we say everyone who has the chain that they do not need, for instance, if a healer had red chain, but they need blue chain, and a tank has blue chain, but they need red chain, then they're going to go middle, they're going to pass the chain. Everyone who doesn't have the correct chain will go middle here, and you'll pass it. It doesn't matter if you go into another chain of your same color or a red chain for a while, because there's a 3-second grace period here before you can pick that chain back up again, so you don't have to worry about that. Once you've done that, you'll notice that there's these orbs around the eyes. Now these orbs are completely identical to each eye, so what I'm doing in this point of view on the blue eye is going to be the exact same thing you're going to do for the red eye, so don't worry about that. You'll see that there's a big yellow orb and there are these blue orbs as well. These orbs are going to grow in size, and we want to take these orbs when they have grown to their max potential, which is about 3 grows. If you wait until the 4th grow, they will explode and cause a raid wide, and it will result in a wipe. The yellow orbs here need to be taken by a stack, so 2 players, and the blue orbs need to be taken individually, so by 1 player. So what we've done here is we've made all the tanks and melee DPS take red chain, right? So that means the tanks and melee DPS on each eye are going to take these yellow orbs each. So me and my ninja are going to take this yellow orb here. We're going to wait. As soon as it's grown for the 3rd time, we take that orb. And what we do here is we immediately pass our red chains to the ranged DPS and the healer here, who are already in position, ready to take the blue orb. So make sure that if you are the ranged or healer in this case, make sure you're in front of that orb, ready in position to take that blue orb. Meanwhile, the tank and the DPS, as soon as they've passed it, they're going to go inside the eye's hitbox, as you can see in my point of view again. And those people, the ranged and the healer, need to wait for that 3rd grow. They wait for that 3rd grow, and then they go in and take it. That is that first part of the mechanic solved. After you've dealt with that mechanic, everyone from the red eye needs to come over to the blue eye. The people with the red chain need to make a light spread around the blue eye here, and this will always be the ranged and healers. They're going to have an intercardinal around the eye here. Meanwhile, the tanks and the melee DPS with the blue chains are going to go inside the eye's hitbox here. So we've all come over from the red eye, and we've all spreaded around the blue eye, and everyone with the blue chains is inside the hitbox here. Now it's going to cast Mirage Dive here. What Mirage Dive is going to do is it's randomly going to send out 2 dives to 2 of the red chain players here, and it's going to give these players a vulnerability, which means they cannot take another Mirage Dive. So what we need to do here is we need to have a priority system. So first, what we do is the first 2 people to get dived, the tanks are going to take their red chain off them, and then they're going to go back into the middle of the eye. I'm going to start with a clockwise rotation. So first I'm going to look at my black mage, and I'm going to go in a clockwise rotation. Meanwhile, my Dark Knight is going to start at my Dancer, and he's going to go in a counterclockwise direction. So this makes an easy priority system. We don't really have to think about it too much. So you'll see in this example, my Black Mage got dived, and so did my healer here. So I take my Black Mage's red chain, and my Dark Knight takes the healer's red chain here. As the red chains, make sure that you stay perfectly still until the person who is meant to take the chain off you takes it off you, and then just do what they do and go back into the blue eye. You'll see that in the footage. Then we'll see the next two dives. Now remember, these dives are completely random, so just because I took this chain off my Black Mage doesn't mean I'm going to get dived. It just means that I can potentially get dived out of the 4 players. So you'll see that 2 more players got dived, and this is now the melee DPS's turn to take the chains. They're going to do the exact same thing that me and the Dark Knight did. One's going to start in a clockwise direction, one's going to start in a counterclockwise direction. This is going to give them a sort of priority system, but it's going to be easy to follow. You'll see that they go out, they take the red chain off those second set of people to get dived, and now a third set of dives is going to go out. Now these dives need to be taken by the first 2 people who got dived. So this is going to be the Black Mage and the Scholar in this instance, if you can recall. So you're going to see the Black Mage is going to go out, take that, and the Scholar is also going to go out and take that. The Scholar was a bit late here, but luckily they got lucky, and that can happen. It is quite forgiving if you do get lucky. Once that third set of dives has gone out, that is it. That is the mechanic. You want to now kill this blue eye ASAP. You'll see that they now begin to cast a Steep in Rage cast. This cast is a raid wide. You're going to take one of these, but you do not want both eyes to cast both of these. So you want to kill that blue eye ASAP. Once you've killed that blue eye, you're only going to have to worry about the left eye's Steep in Rage cast going off. So this is a raid wide. Make sure you do mitigate this. You want a reprisal on it. You want all sorts of debuffs on it. Make sure your healers are topping everyone up, getting shields up, and you're going to be fine. Once that cast is finished, it will resurrect the blue eye. So just have a designated range player just re-kill that blue eye, and have everyone else just continue to focus on the left eye here. Make sure it dies, because there is a Nidhogg's influence gauge up top in my UI. You can see that's just above the limit gauge. If that goes up to 100%, it will be an enraged cast. So you want to kill these eyes before that gets to 100. It looks pretty tight. You can see it's at 99, but it stays at 99 for a bit long. So it's not as scary as it looks, but it is still pretty tight. So make sure that you are pumping the damage. Once you have done that, you're going to be taken back in time to phase 1, and you're going to be dealing with the very last mechanic that you dealt with in phase 1. Remember, he's going to cast Pure of Heart. He's going to do those baited cleaves that 2 players need to take, and they're going to drop these time bombs. There is a difference here, though. The difference is you have Tank LB free and you have Honchefount spawning. The moment Honchefount spawns, which is about 3 GCDs in, you want a Tank LB. If you don't want to be risky, do 2 GCDs and then wait around. You want to Tank LB the moment Honchefount spawns, because if you do not Tank LB him, he's going to die and it's going to reset the entire fight and you'll be back to square one. So make sure that you are Tank LBing. Prioritize that Tank LB above everything else here. As soon as that Tank LB is gone off, Honchefount will get a buff, and he will not have as strong of an infirmary as he did the very first time you saw this phase. So this time, he can actually be healed. While the Tank LB is up, you won't have to worry about this, but once the Tank LB does drop, you're going to have to worry, because Honchefount is taking that spear, and that spear is constantly sending shockwaves throughout the party, and it's a lot of raid-wide damage to heal as the healers. So healers, just be aware of this. Make sure that you are mitigating and healing through this damage. As I said, it also has these baited cleaves, so whatever order your group does this, make sure that 2 people are going out to bait those cleaves. Once they've baited the cleaves, drop the time bombs somewhere nice and safe, and you'll be absolutely good. If you have time to change this strategy, I really do advise having tanks go last, as there is a lot of damage at the end of this phase when he finished his cast of Pure of Heart, and having tanks go last just means that you won't have to worry about topping the tanks up. In our case, we have melees go last, which means we do have to stress a little bit about topping them up, but it hasn't caused a problem yet. But if you do have the room to change the strategy, then now might be a good time to do it. Remember, drop the time bombs exactly like you would in phase 1. Make sure you are not going into previous members' time bombs and dropping yours and then going into the group when that debuff Skyblind has finished its duration on you. Once you get Sir Charabet to about 24%, you want to try and hold on to your resources here if you're a resource-based job. The reason for this is because once he has dropped to 24%, you don't really actually have to worry about killing him or anything. He won't die, and it's not going to mitigate the damage anymore. Once it's 24%, that's the threshold of damage, so that's all you need to worry about, because you're going to need to save your resources after this cast. And the reason for that is because you'll notice here that you need to kill this Spear of the Fury on Honchophant. If you do not kill this, it's going to reset the entire fight. So if you have resources saved from Sir Charaba, it's going to make this DPS check a lot easier. It can be pretty tight as well, so just make sure that you are entering this with resources at the ready. Once you have saved Honchophant, you will now enter Phase 5. I'm not going to go through Phase 5, but just make sure a tanks Forden here. Doesn't matter which one at the moment, just make sure you have a tanking Forden and that you're ready to go into the next mechanics. And that, my friends, will just about wrap up this video. If it was helpful to you, please give it a like. I'd really appreciate that. If you have any feedback, make sure to leave it in the comments below. And if you like my content, then please do consider hitting that subscribe button. To keep this video short, I will end it here. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy, stay safe, we out. Goodbye.